the shadowed corners of Maple Hill Park, Alabama, lies a playground drenched in death and sorrow, known as the Dead Children's Playground. It sits next to the Maple Hill Cemetery, a final resting place for dozens of children who perished during the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. Their spirits, restless and angry, are said to haunt the swings and slides, forever trapped between life and death. Late at night, when the moon casts long shadows across the park, eerie sounds can be heard. The creak of the swing sets moving without wind, the faint laughter of children too young to understand the weight of their fate. Some say that if you stand near the playground after dark, you'll feel a chill, an oppressive presence that fills the air, as if something, someone is watching you from the darkness. Those brave enough to visit the playground claim to see the swings moving on their own, as if pushed by invisible hands. Others have reported hearing the soft, disembodied whispers of children pleading to be heard. But it's not just the sounds that unsettle those who dare to linger. Some have felt a tug on their clothing, a cold hand brushing against their skin, as if the lost children of Maple Hill are reaching out for company, forever seeking the warmth of life they lost so long ago. If you hear their voices, you may never leave the playground, and perhaps you may never want to. In the haunting expanse of the Santa Lucia Range, there are whispers of shadowy figures, tall, silent, and unnervingly still, known as Los Vigilantes Oscuros to the early Spanish settlers. These beings are the Dark Watchers, a mysterious and terrifying presence that lurks in the high mountain peaks. No one knows who or what they are, but their chilling gaze has been reported by countless travelers who wander too close to the range. The Dark Watchers are seen at dusk. Their tall, shadowy forms standing motionless against the fading light. They are figures of silence, black silhouettes, almost human in shape, but too large, too otherworldly to be real. From the cliffs and hills they watch, never moving, never speaking, just observing. Some say their eyes burn with an unnatural light, their stare piercing the very soul of anyone who dares to venture into their territory. Those who have dared to approach report an overwhelming feeling of dread, as though the air itself thickens with a malevolent force. The watchers never make a sound, but their presence is undeniable, heavy, suffocating. And when travelers turn to leave, they are often followed, as though something dark is trailing them through the shadows, just beyond their reach. The dark watchers are a warning, a curse, or perhaps something even older, waiting for the next soul, foolish enough to wander too close. One thing is certain, they are always watching, and they will never look away. In the desolate, windswept landscape of Escalante, petrified forest, something ancient and malevolent stirs beneath the earth, a curse that punishes those who dare to disturb the long-dead remnants of a forgotten world. It is said that if you take even a single shard of petrified wood from the park, you will unleash a chain of misfortune so vile it will haunt you for life. The curse of Escalante is not one to be taken lightly. Those who have taken the petrified wood, some with the best of intentions, have returned home to a life shattered by calamity, job losses, sickness, car accidents. These are the least of the horrors that befall those who steal from the ancient forest. Many have reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread the moment they lay a hand on the wood, as if something unseen but terribly powerful is watching, waiting. As the legend goes, the spirits of the forest, the souls of those who once walked the earth, guard the petrified trees with an unrelenting fury. They have cursed the land, and anyone who dares to desecrate it will suffer until the stolen wood is returned. Those who ignore the warning find themselves spiraling into a nightmare of misfortune and despair. The air is thick with tension in Escalante, and if you ever find yourself there, beware. Touch the wood, and the curse will find you slowly, surely, and with no mercy. In the 1950s, a haunting image began to spread across homes in Europe and beyond. A painting that seemed innocent at first, but carried with it an unspeakable curse. It was called The Crying Boy, a portrait of a tear-streaked child with eyes that appeared too knowing, too sorrowful, painted by Giovanni Bragolin, a pseudonym for the Italian artist Bruno Amadio. The image was mass-produced and hung in countless homes, unwittingly marking them with a dark and sinister fate. People who hung the crying boy on their walls soon began to notice strange, disturbing things. Appliances malfunctioned for no reason. Unexplained fires broke out, always destroying everything but the painting itself. Houses burned to the ground, leaving the cursed child's face untouched. Staring from the ashes, his tears glistening like drops of blood. The stories were too widespread to dismiss as coincidence. One family reported their house burning down despite the flames being miraculously contained in every room except the one with the crying boy on the wall. The painting remained untouched, its eyes still weeping, its expression as empty as death itself. Over time, the legend of the cursed painting grew, and so did the fear. People claimed that if you owned the crying boy, you were doomed to suffer tragedy. It was said that the boy in the painting was no ordinary child, but the spirit of a soul lost to the flames, forever bound to seek revenge on those who dared possess his image. In the years that followed, the crying boy was quietly removed from homes, burned or hidden away, but the legend remains. Some say that if you find one of the paintings today, you should never look into the child's eyes, for if you do, the curse will follow you, bringing death and destruction, an unrelenting reminder that the boy's tears are never shed in vain.
In the chilling legend of the Buckley family, an old, grainy photograph captures a haunting moment that still terrifies those who see it. The black and white image shows two children, a boy and a girl, standing eerily still, their faces expressionless, eyes empty and dark. But beneath this innocent appearance lies a sinister tale, a Halloween night turned nightmare. According to the legend, the Buckley children were quiet and reserved, hardly ever speaking to anyone but each other. On one Halloween night, however, their mother mysteriously disappeared. Neighbours grew suspicious, noticing that the house remained dark and silent, an unsettling quiet hovering over it. Days later, the truth was discovered in a twisted, horrific scene, their mother's body hidden away, with chilling evidence suggesting that the children had murdered her in cold blood. When questioned, the Buckley children claimed they did it for fun, their voices chillingly devoid of remorse. The police could find no rational motive, only a dark emptiness in the children's eyes, a void that seemed to stare right back at them, leaving officers uneasy. It's said that the Buckley children were taken away, their fate unknown, but the photograph remained, a disturbing reminder of that night. Some say that if you look into the children's eyes for too long, you'll feel an inexplicable darkness creeping over you, as though their eerie, hollow stare is reaching out, threatening to pull you into their twisted world. To this day, that haunting image is said to resurface occasionally, appearing in random places, as if the Buckley children are still watching, waiting, perhaps seeking a new victim to haunt. Those who've seen it say the cold, empty stare never leaves them, a terrifying reminder of innocence twisted into something monstrous, lingering just beyond the frame.
In the shadowy corners of Staten Island, a name whispers through the night. Cropsey, once a harmless tale to keep children in line, it has grown into a nightmare that stains the very land. Parents warn only silence in their wake. The legend didn't stop there. As the years passed, Cropsey became something far more real, an embodiment of true terror. In the 1970s and 80s, a man named Andre Rand emerged from the shadows, a twisted figure who matched the horrors of the folklore, convicted of kidnapping and terrorizing children. Rand was the real-life Cropsey. The monstrous figure in the legend was no longer just a story. It was flesh and blood, roaming the streets of Staten Island, snatching children one by one. Cropsey may still walk among us, his twisted presence forever haunting the streets where innocence once lived. And for those who strayed too far into the night, the darkness may still claim them, silent and hungry. There are bridges across the United States, weathered and forgotten, where the air grows thick with an unsettling presence, a presence that can only be described by one name: Crybaby Bridge. On these forsaken structures, beneath the weight of darkness, a chilling sound pierces the night, the unmistakable wail of a baby. Some say it's the echo of a mother's grief. Others speak of a tragedy too terrible to comprehend. Legend has it that the cry comes from the depths of the bridge, rising from the black waters below. The baby's scream is sharp, desperate, full of the raw, painful longing of a child lost in time. Those brave enough to stop and listen speak of the hair-raising feeling that something unseen is watching, waiting. Some say if you listen too long, you'll hear more than just crying. You'll hear the soft, wet footsteps of something crawling up from the dark, its hands reaching for you, pulling you into the water, just as it did to the child long ago. And no one knows why the sound lingers. Some claim it's the spirit